Hello and welcome back to Tech Teams Talk. My name is Drissy Dave, and today I'm joined by Kushagra Trivedi, who's currently a principal software engineer at Microsoft. Welcome. So
Yeah,
let's,
thanks.
oh, sorry. Let's start at the beginning. What led you to pursue a career in tech, and how did this journey begin for you?
All right. So, how did I choose to pursue this career in tech? My brother-in-law, he's working in JP Morgan. He's currently VP there, and he was here, and he looked. He was when he was working and he was studying computer science. He saw a lot of opportunities in the computer science field, and he suggested that since you are in science and you like computers, why not just pursue the computer engineering, and that's where I chose computer engineering in bachelor's back in India. And then I did masters here, and just one after another. And I grew my interest as well when I was coding in like old style blue screen C programming language. That's where I liked it even more because we were developing small games, and that's where it felt like, yeah, this is what I would like to do for my life.
Mhm. So one of your first roles was at Data Dynamics. So what kind of work did you do there, and what did you learn from being at a smaller tech company?
Yeah, so when I was there, Data Dynamics is basically a company which is providing the solution to the customers, like big companies who would like to migrate their data from one kind of storage to another kind of storage. Like they have a lot of data, right? And they have different kinds of places like SIF share, NFS exports, all this kind of things, and they want to migrate data from one place to another, and those kind of solutions they were providing. And the last project that I was working on, when they were object storage was on the hype, and they were providing the solution to migrate the file based data to the object based data, those kind of solutions they were providing. And since I was a junior engineer, a fresh graduate out of the school, so most of the things that I was purely coding. My senior software architect at that moment, who was my mentor, Jackie Lau, he was providing the projects that what I'm supposed to do, and then I was just basically following his guide, trying to design some things on my own, and then sharing the design. Sometimes he used to approve, sometimes he was coming up with better ideas and then suggest me what I'm supposed to do. And then, yeah, mostly purely coding. That's what I was doing. The good thing about the small company is like, since it's a small company, you don't have to write a lot of design documents. You don't have to communicate over the emails. I used to just go to his desk and was like, "Hey, Jackie, what do you think about it?" And he was like, "Yeah, it's good." And we used to just merge the code. That's how it's supposed to be, compared to what it's right now. So it's much more structured. So I would say the good thing about it's about the pace. You can deliver faster compared to what in the big orgs, where you have to go through the a lot of different stages in order to get things done. Yeah.
So going from a smaller company to a bigger one like Microsoft must have been a shift. So what was this transition like for you?
Yeah, so initially I learned that everything here is mostly the email based communication versus like going over the desk. So I started like initially started from my old experience, like of startup experience, and then I just used to go to people's desks and so I asked them how it's supposed to be done, and then people were like, "Yeah, why don't you just shoot me an email, and then we can look over that thing." So that's where I eventually learned that, yeah, this is not how it works over here. You need to have things communicated via Teams meetings or the documentation. Like you need to create whatever the design document that you're coming with. You need to write it in a Word doc, share it with them. They will go over it, they will put the questions there. So everything usually happens asynchronously most of the time, unless it's a security thing or incident. Most of those kind of things happens over the asynchronous communication over the email. uh, so not as fast as startup company, but like quite structured. And the good thing about this thing was like, I've been there like for 7 years, and if I want to go back and check like some of the decisions I've made, like I don't know, like why did I do something like that, and then I can just go back and check that design document and figure out, yeah, this was the reason. So being structured and everything documented, it has its own perks that, yeah, you can go back and iterate on it again. So that was one of the big shifts. And yeah, that was kind of a learning opportunity. Like you need to strategically plan everything when you want to design a feature. If you want to deliver something, you need to take all these phases into accounts before committing the timeline. So that was one of the learning thing. Yeah.
So now looking at where you are at today, what is your current role and what does this role involve on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so I started as a software engineer. Currently, I'm as principal. So I went through the different stages, like just from the coding to just following, like fixing small bugs, taking small features, to started to following the leader, like a project lead, and then developing under him, and then eventually coming with own projects. And currently, basically, I just do most of the time prototyping. So I do write a lot of code, but most of the times I develop. Design documents like this is how supposed to be done, and then there are other junior members of the team that I share the documents with, and they try to follow what I was doing about 3 4 years where I was following someone else's lead. So that's kind of a shift. Like currently it's kind of a lead position as well, where you have a cross team collaboration. You are the face of the team, where people will come up with their questions, you will answer the question, you provide them the solutions. Even the other team members would come to you with the problems, you provide them the solutions. Meanwhile, still working at your own projects, developing and like paving the path for new kind of problems that could arise, and you try to find the solutions for them. So yeah, this going from the coding to being a lead, kind of the changes that I've seen. Yeah.
So to build on that a little more, what kind
Mhm.
of projects have you worked on recently and what have these projects involved?
Yeah, so primarily I was working on a lot of performance improvement stuff. So I'm just a backend engineer. I've never done anything on the front end side. Most of the things I've done is on the back end. So I was working on mostly on the performance improvement things. Like I'm working in SharePoint Online in authentication team, and what my primary responsibility was like to improve the performance. And then eventually I just take on the role like where I'll be guiding that, like how much how can we can improve, how much we can squeeze. And I started giving the work to other team members, like these are the things that we need to do. So that's one of the projects so that I'm doing, like performance improvement for the authentication space. The other one is we had a big issue in the security like last year, and that's where we started across the Microsoft wide like secure future initiative. And since we are authentication, we are the first people who need to protect the entire customer base from getting attacked. So we have a lot of SFI work items, and that's where I do a lot of works. Like most of them, it's coming under the big umbrella of like trying to make the product even more secure than what it was, and try to close all the loopholes that attackers can find. So that's another project that I'm doing. So it comes like there are a lot of small projects underneath, like coming up with a new protocol, integration of the different new kits which is provided by the Entra, coming up with a project that can use the tokens instead of cookies. So those are the smaller project, but the bigger umbrella is just SFI.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you work on the back end, so focusing on how systems improve behind the scenes. So what's something that people might not realize about this type of work?
Yeah. So one of the things like most of the things like authentication, people would see like, yeah, you just put the username, password, and then eventually everything gets done, and then you get the access. But there is a lot of things happening behind. If you try to see, there is a lot of redirects happens. Like if you just look at the URL bar, there is one URL, second URL. Those are the redirects happening, and that's basically Microsoft or whoever company you are trying to work like trying to access the resources, they are trying to redirect to a specific endpoint, and they are doing in order to make things um, more secure, and try to optimize it as well. So those kind of work that's happening behind the scenes, like they are trying to make things, those kind of engineers trying to make things faster for you, those engineers trying to make things reliable for you, so you don't even, so all these things like if you know like availability, reliability, durability, all these things are coming from the back-end engineers. uh, I'm no way I'm telling that French engineers are not needed, but this kind of work is happening on the back end side, where things are happening. It's working in the perfect pace without looking into it. Like but this is the kind of work that people don't realize it's happening, but those are the work that's the backend engineers are taking care of, like making things secure, reliable, more performance efficient, all these things.
So you've also mentioned that you led projects across multiple teams. So how do you balance this technical depth with leadership and decision making?
Yeah, that's a good question. So basically, my I try to I try to divide my day in the different parts. So like I usually start my day early. That's where I get a lot of time for my own coding, and that's why I just try to finish up the stuff like my own coding, like projects that I'm trying to do some development or etc. And by the 11 o'clock, that's where the meetings and everything starts. So that's where I have to go through some of the design documents or read the like what's happening. So during the meeting, we have started new initiative. Like whenever there is a meeting and there is a big doc, we usually give 15 minutes to the people who are in the meeting to read this document and have any questions they can ask or put those questions there. So that's what I do. Like once the meeting starts, I'll go through the doc. I'll try to put as many questions as I have, and based on that, we will make the decisions. Like so, it's an iterative process. You put the questions, they will come back. You put the questions, they will come back, or there would be a follow-up meeting. If there are blockers, we would just say, yeah, this is not possible, it's a blocker because of some reason. Like for example, someone comes like, yeah, we'd like to use a new cookie, and it's like, no, not happening, because it's a secure future initiative thing. We don't issue new cookies anymore. Try to use the intra token, something like this. uh, and then eventually it will come to the part like at the end of the day, like I'll be doing some of the reviews. Like there will be a bunch of PRs that I have to review from the other teams or the junior members. So that's where I'll try to do the code reviews. I'll try to let them know like this is not the right way to do, or if you can use this specific API, it would make things much easier for you, or try to use this design patterns that would be much more readable or extensible in the future. So yeah, kind of it's divided. Sometimes it goes up, and usually it doesn't happen, but like 20% of the cases, sometimes some incident comes up, and then I have to get involved, and everything get disrupted at that moment, and I have to just jump on the incident. Everything was just on the side. So yeah, kind of my development work, the meetings, and the PR review. So that's how I try to divide my day into. It follows like 80% of the times, but 20% of the times it doesn't follow that way. And yeah.
So you grew from engineer to principal engineer at Microsoft. So what helped you level up and what challenges came with this growth?
Yeah, so what helped me is like I had really good two mentors, like my two managers, Bhavesh Doshi, who was my previous manager, and then I was working with Vladimir Fasic, he's my current manager. So really two great managers. They give me a lot of good insights on what it takes to get to the next level on the every stage, and really some of the good things that they told me is like the things that Microsoft follows, like the empathy and customer oriented things. So customer is like from our point of view, it's customer is not just the customer and customers, like the users directly using things, but there are customers like the partner teams. There are other teams which are trying to use the auth products internally in order to have like, since it's a auth is trying to call the substrate, for example, exchange. So we need to provide them some kind of auth artifact so they can reach out to substrate. So those kind of services, so where the cross-team collaboration is required. And if you deliver the project faster, if you try to help them faster, so they would be able to deliver things faster. So in this terms, like partner teams are our customer, and we try to be customer oriented in that way as well, where we need to provide them the solution as fast as possible or unblock them as fast as possible, which is kind of helping them, which will be coming up as like people will try to reach out to you, that this person tried to solve my problem last time, let me try to reach out to him again. And that's where you will build the network, like where you would be the person who people can look up to, and that's where you can get into the next stage. Like that's where people was like, okay, this person is doing more cross team collaboration, he can take on bigger projects, he can try to drive this project. So that's kind of the ladder that try to put you in. If so, Microsoft has a policy, they will try to promote you if you are already performing at that level. So if you are not performing that level, they will not promote you. So once they give you project, if you're succeeding, they will try to give you the harder project. And that's how uh, you grew. That's kind of a strategy that Microsoft is following. And yeah, I think that's what I did. Like whenever my manager were trying to tell me like what you need to do, I was trying to follow them, whatever they said, like try to cross team collaboration, try to keep them updated, try to deliver your project on time, try to just help them as much as you can. Or if you can't help them, try to get them to someone who can help them. So that's kind of thing, like customer orientedness and empathy are the two big factors in getting into this latter. Yeah.
Okay. So let's zoom out and talk about the industry as a whole. So with everything happening in tech, with AI, security, like what excites you the most with where this industry is heading?
Yeah, so I really like AI stuff. Like Microsoft is doing a lot of things with the Copilot. Even our in my own team, like we have other part which is the labels. Labels is kind of the things that we can suggest something to customers, like and on their usage. Yes, like you are trying to do something like this. Do you want to do something like this as well? So those kind of suggestive things that we are trying to involve, those kind of features that we are coming up in our code base. And I hope it would be GA by the end of this year. So that's where we will try to see like how much customers are liking, and we can develop more features. But one of the things that I think is, like, if you have read this book Disrupt You, so Disrupt You is like there is a first chapter which talks really good things about like how we can come up with the technological rises. The people started coming up with the different kinds of solution, and one of the solution that Jay gave in that book was kiosk. Like when you go to the airport and you see the kiosk, people hadn't thought about it. Like these things can be useful, where you can just go on your own and try to use your own boarding pass, your own boarding pass. So I'm looking forward to see something like this, like where the customers didn't know those kind of solutions are needed, and they will be given those kind of solution which will make their lives much simpler. Like some of the things are like the watches. Like we didn't know that we can have a watch on our hand, and we can track our fitness and all these things. And I think it will, with the usage of this AI and all, we will just gonna take it to the different stage where things would be much simpler for the customers and the users, so where they can focus the life on the things they like most. Like they want to focus on the art or creativity, because the AI will take care of the other things for them. Like you don't want to do the utensils, just AI would take care of it. Something like that. Yeah.
So since you're at the center of enterprise tech with Microsoft, from your perspective, what's something that they're doing really well right now?
So I feel like first of the benefit that customer like Microsoft has is their huge customer base that was developed from a very long period of time, due since the Windows time or the Microsoft world. So one of the things is like they are keeping their product as is. They are improving it without like ruining the gist of it. Like whatever the Word was doing, whatever the Windows was doing, it's still doing it, but they are adding up the new features, which is making these things more useful for the end users, so they can use the existing products even with more and more productivity. Like with the, for example, if you are using Excel has just the same view and everything, but now they are adding the different ways to, you can write the macro and you can write the Python script, and now you can do the chat GPT inside that will do the analyzing and all these things. So they are adding stuff to the existing products in a way that make life of the users much more simpler. That's one of the thing. And the second thing, that's kind of an innovation pipeline. The second one is making things secure. Like every time um, Microsoft sees that customer, it's Microsoft is losing customers trust, they would jump right onto like, okay, let's not focus on the other things, let's try to make things much more secure. That's what we started last year. Like when this big issue came with the security, it's like we dropped everything. Since we have already customers, we want to make them safer, then we can go pursue the other features. And that's the one another thing that again comes from the customer orientedness and the empathy. That's what keeping Microsoft ahead in the game. Like they try to just focus on the product, improving the existing product, coming up with the new features, and meanwhile keeping the existing customer base and maintaining their trust.
So finally, for people listening who might want to follow a similar path, what advice would you give to someone who would want to work at a company like Microsoft?
Oh yeah, so I would say if you want to get into the tech, like that's what I have idea about. I don't know about the other fields, but for the tech, yeah, if you have solid foundation about the coding and all, and if you have really good idea about some of the design patterns that like the coding related design patterns, then yeah, you're good to go. Like you need to just need if you want to just get into the tech world, only three things are needed, like the data structures, algorithms, and good design skills. Everything else, once you have learned these things, everything else, because this is just pure computer science, once you've learned this thing, once you'll get into the actual industry, you'll learn a lot of new things as well, like how to communicate, how to present. Those are the soft skills, but eventually those soft skills will become the major skills, because what you'll do like at the principal or above, that's mostly most of the time you'll be doing the presentation and talking to people and communicating and just letting them know what are the things that's happening or what are the updates. So those soft skills will become eventually your major skills. But if you want to just start, the first phase is like just the data structures, algorithms, and some of the design patterns, and then eventually you'll grow. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing your journey, experiences, and insights. This has been very helpful. I know a lot of people listening will take something valuable away from this. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Sure, sure. Thanks so much.